I remember one summer morning when I was home from college and I came downstairs. I was probably like 19 and I saw my stepfather, God rest his soul. This was my mom's fourth husband, but the longest husband. Those of you who have someone in your family like this, you understand what I'm saying. So they were married like, I don't know, 17 years, 19 years. So he's like a father to me since my dad died right before my 25th birthday. Wanted to give you some context. And he was always sitting at the kitchen table with multiple newspapers, his tea. He was not a fan of coffee, and his same nasty ass toast that he would have every day. And I said to him, God, you make it look so easy. You make all this money, and this man was very wealthy. You make all this money, and all I see you doing most of the day is piddling around, as my grandma used to say, reading the newspaper, maybe getting on a couple of phone calls and like watching at that time, the TV stock market channel. And he was also old school. So like he was never going to use an app. Like this is like Warren Buffett style shit. And he looked at me and he said, it's kind of like when you see a duck in a pond. You're seeing me on the top of what I'm doing, but what you're not seeing was all the paddling I did to get here. And he's like, so I make it look easy now. He's like, but I've been doing this for many decades, so that's why I have it down. You're seeing the benefit of all of my upfront work. And I'll never forget that conversation. And I'm so appreciative he gave that to me, because what I feel there's an epidemic of now are people thinking that suddenly having your own business should be easy. And in 3 months, you should be making $10,000 a month. And in 90 days, you should have 90,000 followers. And I'll teach you how to go viral in 2 weeks. It's this microwave society and messaging that is conditioning and setting people up for failure. It still blows my mind that people complain about their audiences not growing, not getting clients, nothing is working. Yet when I ask them to break down what daily actions they're taking, it ends up with maybe 1 or 2 hours of dedicated time on random crap. If you showed up as an employee operating like this, worked for someone else, you would be fired. So why are you half-assing your business activities and then getting upset that you don't have full-on, all-in results? Entrepreneurship is incredible, but for you to be successful at it, you can't play it safe. Be cheap, try to find a shortcut or slap something together and pray it works. That's a setup for failure, and this episode is designed to set you up for success and give it to you straight. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash-making advice. Now let's get to it. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, and today we're going to have a really blunt conversation on why my beautiful fitness professionals, my wellpreneurs, even my healers, why you guys are not making the money you want to make, yet you are spending a lot of money on putting content out there, putting yourself out there, and you feel you've been doing it for a long time and nothing is really happening. Nothing is really converting at some big level. You're getting clients here or there. And I study this. This is one of the things I do as a strategist. And it's very obvious to me. And it's also obvious to my guests that I brought in today on what the problem is. And we're also going to point you in the direction of a solution. And this is not something that's going to be that hard to fix. It's most likely because you just didn't know. When you don't know what you don't know, you're not going to be able to get different results. So after this episode, you absolutely will. So I brought on someone who's done my programs before, but she's also someone in the fitness space who isn't afraid to put out different types of content and branding that you don't see from most of these, so to speak, fit bosses. And that's why her brand works. That's why it converts. That's why people sign up for her thing. So we're going to get into it, but I wanted to have someone on who's like an actual example of this stuff. So Felicia Romero is here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tiffany. So excited to be on.
So let's talk about this. And you guys go on her. I mean, if you're probably multitasking, but
I multitask when I listen to podcasts. I'm like doing my makeup. I'm doing all the things.
Exactly. So you're probably doing that, but at least put a pin in it to go later on to her Instagram, Felicia Romero. And then you can see a visual example of what I'm talking about. You know, I'm an example in my space. Like, you don't want to be posting and sharing content, whether it's emails, whether it's programs you create, whether it's videos, TikToks, any across the board, colors, fonts. If you are doing the same shit that's already been done and already out there, it's not going to work. And that's why it's not working. And it sounds so obvious. So I want to hear your take on that. Because you used to, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You used to be someone who did post a lot of the typical, fitness stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it has been an evolution. It has been an evolution to me. And, you're right. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. And so for me and I know for those listening, if you're listening to like the gurus and there's always these things, and this goes through in every single niche, whether it's fitness or business. Like in fitness, when I was a fitness coach, you're hearing a lot of the same things, right? Depending on who you're following. Well, post 3 times a day and do these things and making sure that you're jumping on the trends and doing all the audio. And I mean, that's all great advice, number one. But number two, I really got into this mode last year when I started shifting my mindset towards what it meant to share content on social media. And what's happening, because the online space, and I don't want to say it's saturated. I feel like that's a very scarcity mindset. And so I don't want to go down that road. But there are more people going into the online space, especially whether you're an online fitness coach, wellness coach, mindset coach, business coach. And it is becoming more relevant. People are going to that space. And what's happening is people are starting to regurgitate a lot of the same things, and they're not doing anything that's allowing them to stand out. And the way that you're going to stand out is by sharing your unique voice. And what's happening is when you're regurgitating a lot of the same things or doing a lot of the trends and topics, again, I'm guilty of it. I feel like people are going to see it and just continue to scroll and not stop and actually share, because they're seeing a lot of the same things from other people too. So we have to really identify, number one, there's a difference between consistency and constantly. And the constantly is like the constant need to be online, not really have a strategy, but just kind of throwing posts up there because it's trending, or this audio is trending, or you've seen another person do it. And then there's consistency. And what I mean by consistency is not necessarily posting 2 times a day, 7 days a week. What I mean by consistency is consistency with your energy, your vibe, your authenticity, and the way that you show up online, and really tapping into what is it that I enjoy doing. And I've had these conversations with clients who are like, Felicia, do I have to post every day? And I don't want to dance and do all the things on, that everyone else is doing. I was like, you don't have to do that. What is it that you love doing? One thing that and I know, video is a must. And how can we show our face? How can we share our message that is authentic to us, but not necessarily regurgitating what everyone else is doing? And that is really, truly finding your unique voice, your unique stance on your specific niche.
Why I think so many people do this, I mean, it happens in any industry. I just wanted to hone in specifically in the fitness, wellness type space, is laziness We're all of us are naturally like mentally lazy. We're humans are wired to take the path of least resistance. So we're overwhelmed. Maybe we have stress going on in our lives. We're feeling uncertain. We're not really sure what to do in business. So then what do a lot of people do is they start scrolling for inspiration, looking at people like you, looking at people like me. Well, it's working for this person. So if I do my own version of it, and it's like kind of gray area copying. I mean, people straight up copy me. That's why I just hired a lawyer 3 weeks ago. Bunch of cease and desists are going out. I'm sure it's happened to you. And now I'm over it. Before I was a little bit like, oh, that's okay. People can copy me. I thought I was being like abundant mindset. No, I'm enabling people from copying my intellectual property, and it's not permitted. So you copying someone else's stuff, even if you're like, well, I did a little bit of a different version, blah, blah, blah. That's like saying to yourself, and tell me what you think about this, that what I have to offer and my vibe and my experience and my expertise, I don't have enough within me to do it. I'm not enough. So I need to kind of do what this other chick is doing.
Yeah, I call this just being embodied, right? No one can teach the way that I teach because I've been through certain things, certain scenarios when it came to my health journey, when it came to how I grew a business, like even my journey in opening and closing my gyms. I'm completely embodied in my experience. So when I come out with a program and I launch it and I teach it, and maybe I see another wellness coach who signs up for the thing just to see what I'm doing, like they're not going to be able to teach it the way that I teach it because I've lived it. I've been through it. Right. And so that's why it may not work for you and probably not going to work for you. So you're actually doing yourself a disservice, and you're also energetically, you're stalling your own wealth. Because first of all, you're comparing yourself to others and maybe jumping on the bandwagon of what they're doing, stalling your wealth. You're maybe not creating boundaries or people pleasing. You're overthinking, you're overanalyzing because you're getting into the head of like, what are all these other people doing? I need to be doing that too because they're seeing success. I'm not. So that's going to cause this energetic leak, not only in yourself, but in the wealth that you can create versus really showing your process, showing who you are, showing how you're embodied in your work and how and what you do and how you teach it. So that's why I feel like there's a big need for people, especially in this space, to share their story. The more you can storytell, show where you've been, show your process, show your framework, show how you've gotten from point A to point B in your way. People see that. People feel that. People follow you on the journey. If you think you can just jump on and be like, hey, this is how I created a 6-figure business using this framework and it's completely stolen from someone else, people are going to know. People are going to smell it out. People aren't stupid. I feel like in the online space, they're getting smarter than ever right now. The buyer is becoming so much more smarter in the purchases that they're making, which is why people aren't necessarily buying the brand or the thing. They're really looking into the person and the person that's selling it.
Well, so the person is the brand. You are the brand. Even my office supply line I'm coming out with, it's not called Tiffany Carter's Office Supplies, but those physical products, that line, I'm the creator, I'm the founder, I'm the creative genius behind those things. And so people are going to have brand loyalty to that.
Well, let's break that down for a little bit, because that's such a great point that you bring up. You are coming out with this office supply line, but what have you been talking about for the last couple of years? Your favorite things, your paper clips, your little notepads, like all the things that you love. And people know that because they follow you, they've been watching you, they've seen your story. And so like they know your passion for these things. And naturally now, because you've led us on this journey, Tiffany, it's okay, I'm coming out with this thing and people are like lit up by it. And that's exciting because they've already seen your passion for it. They feel it. Versus if I were to do that, because I'm like, whoa, Tiffany's launching this thing in e-commerce and oh my gosh, she's making this much money in a day. Maybe I should do something like that. And then I were to do it, it's not going to come off the same because I don't talk about little notepads on my podcast or with my audience. Like, it's just not something I do. It's not part of who I am. It's not going to work for me. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about becoming embodied. it has to be part of your story and something that you teach and someone can feel. And it makes it that much stronger in like the building that like know and trust factor. So yeah, that's a perfect example of that.
Yeah. And it has to be true. Mm-hmm. But I feel especially in the fitness wellness space, it's a bigger problem. If I see one more damn video of like a fitness coach or whatever eating a big slice of pizza, that's been done, sweetie. I'm not impressed like that you have ab lines and you eat pizza. Like that might be true, but that's not that unique. But I know what the listener's thinking is, Tiffany, Felicia, like my story is, it's not like it's that unique. It's kind of basic. I don't do anything that exciting every day, da, 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 da. My response to that is, well, how you can present it is unique because how Felicia explained something and how I explained something, we could be talking about the same damn thing.
Yeah.
But it comes out very different. It presents differently. But why do you think it is specifically in this industry that we see so much of the same basic content and presentation? Like, I have an app and now you can go on my app and now 30 days to lose 30 pounds. It's the same shit that's been going on for decades.
Yeah. I think a couple of things are going on here. I feel like you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but like the laziness, the lack of let's figure out something unique for me. Let me just jump on the bandwagon of what everyone else is doing and following the Instagram gurus who are teaching us these things. And then secondly, sometimes it could come down to the coach that you hire, maybe regurgitating a lot of this information that you're hearing, you're following it along. But it really is, I think, a sense of I'm trying to find what's going to work for me, the laziness, and also maybe the lack of clarity of real strategy. And I know you mentioned you're a strategist and really looking into like the marketing strategy and things like that, and not having a true strategy for your audience. So for example, if you're brand new to the space and you launch your program and you're doing all of these things that we're talking about, like jumping on the trends and pointing to the eat this and do this and do this, like it may not hit as well because your audience is probably pretty cold. So you didn't really put the time in. Let's say maybe you had a 3-month strategy to to nurture your audience and build a warm community through live trainings, through master classes, through workshops, through sharing your genius with your audience in a different way. And then you work into the content building and the launch and asking for the sale. But I feel like people just don't know what to do. So they just throw some stuff out there and think that it's going to work. And they're surprised when it doesn't work, or they're frustrated and they want to give up. And so there's a lot that's going on. And obviously it's very nuanced and it can be very anecdotal depending on the person. But that's what I see a lot of. I see a lot of that. It's just not putting the time in to really build a community before they start asking for the sale.
Now, someone could say, looking at your account, well, easy for you to say, Felicia, you have the blue check. You're verified. You've been at this a long time. You've been on the cover of fitness magazines. So of course you could probably post like a turkey leg and, and thousands of people would look at it and would comment. What do you have to say about that?
Totally understand. And so I will say the blue check mark doesn't mean anything. It just means that I've been on TV a couple times. I've had some magazine stuff. I was able to prove it and they verified me. So if anything, I feel like sometimes that actually puts me in a disadvantage because people are intimidated to reach out. They're intimidated. They think I won't have time. Which is furthest from the truth. This is my business. So I think sometimes it may be a disadvantage for me. That totally negates. And also I know so many people with a lot of followers and personal clients who are making no money in the online space. So that is like furthest from the truth. I know people who have a couple thousand followers that are making millions in their business. And so I don't think that has anything to do with it. Yeah, it's cool to have, but the vanity metrics really doesn't make anything. It doesn't take anything to the bank, right? So when it comes to that, I'm going to say everyone started out somewhere. Everyone started out with showing up with no one coming to the masterclass, no one showing up on the live. And I'll be honest, when I first launched my online business after I sold my gyms, I thought, well, this is going to be easy. I'm just going to throw out my programs and people are going to sign up. And no one was signing up.
Even though you had, when you transitioned more online, you already were someone who was known in your industry and were on covers and shit. And even had a couple TV things. And even with that, It still wasn't cute.
No, even nothing was like, it wasn't working. I pivoted to the online and I wasn't bringing in the millions. It just doesn't work that way, And so you really have to like build the foundation of your business. And that foundation of your business is the consistency of knowing who you help, how you help them, what problem you solve for them, what your brand is. And it's more than your colors and your logo. It's what is your core values? Who are you at your core? If I go to Tiffany's social media right now and look at her top 10 posts, I know what she's all about. I know, her vibe. I know, even just based on listening to a couple of podcasts, I know her vibe. I know what she likes. I know what she dislikes. I can get a sense of who she is. It's because she is her brand and she's shown up in that way. There's power in that. But people, I think, sometimes like to take shortcuts to the process and already want to get to why am I not making these 10K months? And why am I not scaling from my 10K to 50K? Like, that's huge growth in any sort of business. And that's just not like realistic. Even like a 20% growth each year that's fantastic, right? And that's still very difficult for a lot of big businesses. So I feel like sometimes we're trying to negate the process and fast forward and take the shortcuts versus building a truly sustainable and reliable business.
Isn't that funny though? Especially when it comes to fitness people, because you guys roll your eyes when you have clients that are like, I've been doing everything you told me and I've had no gains, or I've not lost any weight. Mm-hmm. And it's been like, let's even say like 45 days or something. Yeah. And then you guys roll your eyes because what people want it to happen fast. People are being marketed to with fantasy marketing in that industry. And then what do you say back? You're like, this takes time and it's a compound effect. And then there's different reasons and people release fat and metabolize at different levels. And there's hormones and you have all these reasons for it. But yet when fitness people and health people go to start their business, I have a bunch of followers and I'm showing all my workouts, and why am I not making money? And Susie Q over here is making all this money. You're now doing exactly what you roll your eyes about.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I have to remind my clients of that sometimes. And I tend to use a lot of fitness analogy in my teaching. So that's something I talk about. It's, hey, we're teaching these people. We teach our clients when I was in the fitness realm that it's a lifestyle. It takes time. We have to really be good with the foundations of creating wellness. Same goes true in our business. Same goes true in any niche, for example, any niche. So yeah, that's such a great reminder.
In the space where it's very visual fitness, like health and wellness, where, you as, even if you were the president of a fitness brand or you owned an app or you whatever, and you're having to show content with your face. Yes, people are looking to see, like, are you fit? Does your skin look nice? Do you look happy and healthy and energized, right? So that you've got to show that content because you're your own best testimonial. But I think people also get stuck there where, why do you think it is? And I'm sure you teach this in your programs. Why do so many fitness people get stuck showing like exercise videos and them exercising and then they're like meal prep and shit? I'm like, I've never hired, by the way, and I'm always someone who has multiple coaches, like private coaches, like high ticket people. I've never hired someone because from them showing a workout, their ab lines, or their food in Tupperware ever.
Yeah, for sure. I think what happens is, and this is something that I touch upon a lot actually, is like your workout videos, if you're just doing it for you and you're trying to show these people what to do, you're again making it about you, making it about your body or the way that you look. And I think a lot of in marketing where we cut ourselves short is making it about the person that we're trying to help. So oftentimes I feel like it's just an easy way to share content. Hey, let me share this quick 20-minute workout or 10-minute workout. And it's not really doing the job. It's like we have to go deeper. A perfect example of this. Do you follow Sohi Fit?
No idea who that is.
So he is amazing. I highly recommend. She has hundreds of thousands of followers. She's this woman who she's been on my podcast before. She's a really actually great podcast guest, but she teaches constantly on her social media. So she's doing these skits where she's going back and forth, and she actually makes fun and polarize, and she creates a lot of polarizing content, but she makes fun of other fitness coaches and fitness influencers in the online space. And she talks about, not only does she create polarizing content, but she also shares from a place of education and educating the person that's watching. Let's be honest, as we're scrolling, if we can't relate to it, or if we can't see ourselves in it, we're going to keep scrolling, right? And or if it's not humorous or it's not adding value to our life in some way, which is why if you were to go to TikTok right now and look at the things that are happening on TikTok, it's like there's a lot of content that people share that's educational. ADHD is super huge on TikTok. Habits and manifestation and money, financial, like those are huge on TikTok right now when you go to teach something, right? And so I think what we tend to do for a lot of people in the social media, especially fitness, wellness, is we make it about us. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what my workout, versus making it about the person that you're helping and how it can solve a problem for them. For example, if let's say you do love sharing workouts, it's something you really enjoy doing, you made it part of your posting routine, instead of just sharing the workout and saying, hey, try this workout today, call out the person that you want to help and say, hey, if you're a mom over 30 and you have multiple kids and you just find the hardest time going to the gym, this circuit is less than 8 minutes. And all you need to do is find 8 minutes out of your day, and you're going to follow this, and boom. And this is going to help you XYZ. Make it about that person. So as she's scrolling versus her seeing another workout post, I'm a mom of 3, and yeah, okay, 8 minutes. Is that long enough? And then in the caption, this is why this is good for someone who lacks time. So like you're making it about them, right? And so just creating that little bit more of that educational spin on it, and where someone is your ideal client, your niche, the person that's being activated by your content is going to see value in that versus the continued scroll.
What kind of thoughts come up for you, which they still do, because there's no way they don't, when you see other people who are, you could consider them like maybe peers in what you do. You could call them, I don't really like the term competitors, but you could say that with what you do. And when you're like in a bad way and your mind is sideways, what kind of stuff comes up for you when you see one of these people who had, let's say, $1 million launch? And you have a program that helps a similar person with a similar set of stuff. And you're like, shit, like my launch was like 60 grand. Not that you're not happy about it, but it's take us through that, what that looks like for real, and then how you move through it.
That's a great question, because I went through this recently. So I started making decisions this year because I am on the road. Like I want to make $1 million in my business. That's my goal. My goal is $1 million. And I've created these unrealistic timelines for myself, as we all do in my head. I got to hit it by this time, and I got to do this, and I have to have this at this launch, and this is how much I have to make each month. And that's all great. Like I work in a very masculine way. I have a lot of masculine energy in what I do. I was an athlete for a long time. I like to have a plan and have this strategy and all of those things. But what really helped me shift these last couple of years is adding really that feminine energy, meaning I'm committed to the goal, but I'm also flexible about my methods. Like I can let go of the rein a little bit when it comes to timelines and money goals and all of the things. And what I was getting myself into is because I do surround myself with women that are doing big things. Like I am working with a coach who literally had $1 million month. And I hired another coach this year to learn about how to scale Facebook ads, all of the things. I wanted to learn about all of this because I wanted to take my business, which is roughly 30 to 40K a month, to 100K months. That was my goal. And I see her, I invested about 20K in her program. And she is basically teaching this thing. And I had a 100K launch, FYI. I cut myself short because I set this goal of $250,000 launch and I didn't hit it. And so I immediately went into what's not working. Why is this happening? And I went into that. Do I reevaluate my price point? Do I do these things? By the way, I'm seeing this other coach who I'm working with bring in my ideal clients, like people who could be working with me at a lower price point. signing up for this $20,000 program. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they would be perfect in my program at a quarter of the price of this program. And why are these people, why is it so hard for me to turn someone who's just found me into a sale? Like most of my sales comes from my hot audience or people that have worked with me who are buying again, which is, I'm so grateful for that. And what I found myself, what's happening in my brain is like, something is wrong with me. Something is wrong with my program. I'm not good enough. Something is wrong with what I'm teaching. Why is it not connecting? And I started to attach my worth to my business. And the moment that you start doing that, guess what happens when you get a no, when you get ghosted, when you send the link and they don't sign up, and then you follow up and you're like, well, why are they ghosting me? I thought they were interested. What's happening? You're going to get hit and your heart's going to just be torn every time that happens. So what I had to really do this year is truly detach from my business. I'm inherently worthy. Those are all listening right now. Tiffany, you're all worthy beyond your business. Beyond your business, you are inherently worthy. So I had to just look at the data and I had to just look at facts. Like, what is happening? Okay, my mini course is an hour long and people are dropping off at 20 minutes. So something has to change here. And so the moment that I could just look at it as black and white, this is just data. Let me take this as trial and error and go back and rework everything. Because that's what business is.
Exactly.
We have to be flexible. That's all it is. We have to be flexible with what we're doing. And the moment we attach ourselves and our worth and becomes these emotions, we're human, right? But the moment we start getting really emotional about these things, guess what happens? It affects your energy. It affects how you show up for your clients. It affects how you create your content. So what I had to do is surrender from the outcome. Also, what has really helped me this year is to have one foot in gratitude and one foot in desire. That was my biggest launch to date. And I didn't even celebrate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm not surprised you didn't celebrate it.
But I didn't celebrate it.
I'm not surprised.
I'm like, this isn't good enough. Like I actually hired a team for this program and like all of these things. And because I'm Enneagram 3, and when I'm an unhealthy Enneagram 3, I get really competitive with myself and I don't stop to smell the roses and I'm on to the next. And so I think this is a perfect example to know that, okay, Felicia, celebrate it all. This was your largest launch. Your community has grown tremendously from a year ago. Like, why can't we celebrate how far we've come versus thinking I haven't gotten there yet? Because if you constantly worry about that, I'm not there yet, you're probably not ever going to get there, right?
I agree because if you're in that energy of, well, yeah, but I'm not here yet. Or yeah, but I don't have millions in the bank like Tiffany. Oh my God, Felicia had $100,000, whatever it was, launch. And I made $5,000. It's, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. It's going to take forever for me to get there. What are you really reinforcing then? Mm-hmm. You're reinforcing it's going to take a long time and you're never going to get there.
Yeah.
Versus saying, say something like, I'm getting closer and closer every single time. Mm-hmm. But I have to out the industry and overall online, the centuries of the health industry with the fantasy marketing. Mm-hmm. And you want to see me pissed off about something and go off. I can go off on that. You guys know that. The fan about health magazines. I had every possible fucking magazine. It was like 3 months to 6-pack. And I bought all of it, right?
Yeah.
I cut out the things. I went to what part of contributed to my workout addiction, like a real problem. Mm-hmm. And it's happening when it comes to money. It's happening when it comes to social media growth. And there's people saying, with the fucking balloons, no offense if you're into the balloons. I'm over the balloons. But like when it's like the balloons, like I hit 100,000 and I hit this. And it's like, then not saying what it took to get there, like what you just said. And so I really appreciate having a guest on that's being honest, that it didn't just magically occur in 60 days that you had your biggest launch, right?
Yeah, no, I've been at this for years. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's this thing in the industry, and I feel like I started to get this, if we're being like completely honest, during the summer, I started to feel this, I don't know, this resentment. I had to unfollow a lot of people online.
I did too. I think all of us felt that.
Yeah.
There's so many people who said that to me. Like some people I had to mute because like we're 3 friends. So I didn't want to cause a problem.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And when I unfollow people, because I'm totally like not the kind of person, I don't hold grudges. I'm not talking about women. Honestly, I had a mastermind little session here with my girlfriends and we all gave and received and we all went around and talked about like the things that they love most about that person. And one of my friends said, "Hey, I love that I've known you for years and you never talk shit about anybody." And I'm like, yeah, that's just not in my nature. And I don't like bad karma, even people that have done me wrong. So I'm not going to like block people and unfollow people. Yeah, I'm going to block you if you troll me. Yes. But I'm not that kind of person where I'm like, oh, I don't like that girl. I'm not going to block her and do all the things. So I unfollowed people mainly for my mental health because I was seeing a lot of this toxicity, and especially around money, because I felt they were talking about the highlight reels. Oh, I had this amazing, I made $1 million this month, but it's hard when coaches are seeing this and they might have been 10 years in this industry and they're seeing that post on that day. So I love talking about money. I know you're a money mindset coach and you have a podcast on money mindset, but I feel like we are doing a disservice if we're constantly like in this place of look at what I'm doing and look at how much I'm making. I feel at odds with it. I also feel on the other end, like, hey, it's totally safe to talk about money. Let's all talk about money. This is a safe space. I love talking about money. The more that I was open and honest about money and the struggles that I've had with it, because I've had my car repossessed, like literally taken in from the front of my building. Yeah, like I literally have had it repossessed because I was at a place where I was afraid to ask for help. I didn't manage my money correctly. I was struggling. I was really struggling. And I remember telling myself, I never want to be in this place again. And it's like, I think there's this like dichotomy of money and this talk about money. So I'm at odds with it, where at one end, I'm like, yes, I love talking about money. It's so safe. I want to share with people like what's possible. And then the other end, I feel like there's also this like toxic connotation around it in the online. And I can't quite put my finger on it exactly, but I feel like there's something there. And
I know what it is. I've coached you, so I know you. It's the I call it fantasy marketing. Mm-hmm. It's not telling the full story.
Yeah.
Right. And you just gave an example of it.
Mm-hmm.
Gave 2. One, you said, I've been at this for years. The second thing that you said is that your car was repossessed. You're coloring the story. Mm-hmm. It's not, I just made these 3 changes and this happened, right? Like,
right.
I just hired this one person and this happened. You're coloring the story. You're not oversimplifying what it takes to get there, which I believe is breeding people to quit. This is why I even started this podcast and the second business of mine is because I saw this happening 4.5 years ago, where it's 30 days to your first 10K. And, I've only been in my business for 2 years and I'm at $1 million. Well, it's no different than what's been going on for fucking decades in the fitness and health world. It's unrealistic expectations. And then it makes people want the shortcut. They think there's a shortcut and an easy way. And then they buy the thing. It's like me buying the shake weight at 2 in the morning, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I bought the slim tea, pooped my pants with that shit. I've done that. And it's happening in this world. And you're a high integrity person. And I think that's what you're feeling.
I want to say this too. I feel like there's these numbers that are thrown around, and I know you're a millionaire. I would love to build my business to become $1 million business. And I'll tell you why this is important, because I feel like we hear these numbers, like you just said it, 30 days to your first 10K. Have you ever really examined why you even want to hit that number? What is this 10K? Where is this 10K number coming from? And again, back to the regurgitation of what everyone else is saying. Everyone else is talking about that number too. Again, I am guilty of it, because it's like, those are the things that get people like their ears ringing, like, oh, what is this? Let me sign up for the masterclass. Let me get in there. And so I can teach them. But what happens is most people set these aspirations for their numbers and they don't really know why. They don't have a deeper meaning behind it of like why they want to hit that. Like, for instance, when I first started in the online space, I literally I remember what it was. My goal was $3,500 a month because it was going to cover like my car. It was going to cover like certain bills. And I'm like, oh my gosh, an extra $3,500 right now would be a godsend. And like, my goal was that. But I remember the coach that I had hired, we got to get to 10K. We got to get to 10K. So as we're like pushing to that, and I'm like killing myself in this hustle culture, right? And it's like, actually, I would have been really happy at 3,500 for the first couple of months, like making that extra money, right? And what happens is we set these unrealistic expectations when we first get in, and we don't even know why we're setting these numbers for ourselves. We don't even know why. We haven't really dug deep as to why we want to do this. Because if right now for a lot of people, $3,500 would be a godsend and get them out of survival mode into, oh, I'm able to
have an extra $3,500 a month. That's legit.
Yeah. And so it's like, we have to start asking yourself these questions. Why is it that I want this number, this goal? And what you're going to notice is, if you may have heard of this, if you've read Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, things like that, but your financial thermostat is going to increase. And why do you think people who have won the lottery, for instance, lose their fortune within 3 to 5 years after winning? It's because they're not used to holding that income. So right now you're wanting to bypass the process. You're wanting to get to 10K, 20K, 50K months, but you're missing the biggest part. And that's the person you're becoming along the way. It's the person that's building the income along the way. Because if you learn the tools to build an extra 3,500, you're going to be able to continue to work and learn the tools to build 10K and then to build 20K. And you are growing along the way. Most millionaires who have lost their millions for whatever reason, whether it's bankruptcy or whatever, have made millions again.
Yes, I lost.
You have. Yes.
I had $1 million in the bank. This is such a great conversation. I had $1 million in the bank by the time I was 30.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I pick that number? All about me having basically no self-worth. I thought if I had $1 million in the bank by I was 30, that meant like I was somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I made it. Mm-hmm. That meant something. Within 3 months, I lost almost all of it because I felt so fucking uncomfortable with that kind of money. Like I didn't even know what to do with myself. And have I made it all many times back again? Yes, but I had to lose it. In order to get to where I'm at today.
Yeah. Which is now you've probably been able to sustain it. So there's something to that. And there's this book called The Slight Edge. And it's like, once we learn the tools of getting there. So like back to the $1 million, like you lose $1 million, that millionaire that lost the millions, chances are they will be a millionaire again fairly quickly because they've learned how to like create that income in their life. Don't bypass the journey. Like you are becoming the person you need to become. You need these steps to become that person in order to hold the income that you're going to be able to grow. So yeah, there's just, I don't know. I love talking about money. I've chatted about this so much. I just love this conversation, but I feel like for a lot of people out there, I feel like you really need to identify your why behind it. I know the why behind me wanting to create $1 million business. I want to help my mom. I want to help her buy a rental property so that she can have passive income coming in. Keith and I want to build or have a cabin up north. Like we want these things. Money gives us choices. So my $1 million business isn't just, I just want $1 million business so I can hold the balloons up to show everyone. No, that's not the thing. I want $1 million business because I want more choices to create the life I want to create and to help those around me that I know is going to give them choice as well. And so like, we have to find a deeper meaning behind it.
And stop trying to shortcut the process. Same thing as how do these people end up losing 50 pounds, 30 pounds, getting their energy back, feeling good in their body from when they felt like crap or whatever. Last time I checked, it's one size at a time, 1 pound at a time, one next great goal at a time. You don't go from one end of the spectrum to another in a certain, like bypassing the process is why you're broke, basically.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's it. And you've done it and I've done it and I've done it in multiple areas of my life and it never ends well. It never does. The best thing you can do if you want to save yourself time, save yourself energy, save yourself money, save yourself aggravation is to definitely learn from someone who's done it, who has the receipts. And Felicia you have a program that's coming up soon, right? It's 4 months. It's not 30 fucking days. It's 4 months and it's 4 months for a reason. Why don't you tell them about what you have coming out?
Yeah, it's called the Wealthy Wellness Coach, 4-month. And I even call it an accelerator. I even feel like 4 months is really fast. So 4 months business accelerator for the fitness coach, wellness coach, mindset coach to really help them identify this, like who they help, how they help them, and what problem they solve, and to do it in a very aligned way. It starts in December. I do have a mini course. If those that are interested, you can click the link in Tiffany. You can actually go to the Hi Felicia podcast page or my page, Felicia Romero, to find the link as well. But yeah.
I'll put it in it's in the show notes.
Oh, perfect. Because I, being in the fitness world for so long, knowing the whole aspect of like trading time for money, you will not be able to create true wealth with that sort of mindset. And so I teach coaches how to take their unique gifts, to package it in their unique framework, and to put it out in the world in the online space in a very aligned way. So that's what I teach.
Yeah. And you guys go vibe Felicia, see if that feels good to you. But I just want to caution you, it might feel shinier, right? To go for the shake weight or the fit tee, right? Yeah. The version of that. You might even feel very drawn to it, like a toxic guy.
Yeah, exactly.
You might feel very drawn to
Reminds
it.
me of my 20s.
Exactly. It might seem like easier and shinier, and they must have like the magic secret sauce. I just want you to just do this for a second for yourself and go, okay, like, am I trying to go after like a quick hit, or am I trying to invest in something that is going to move the needle and get me closer and get me sustained results? So just notice that in your body, what you're going for, and go for the real stuff. And you probably already bought the others, the $97 course, the this, the that. I've bought all that shit too.
Yeah, me too.
And you can keep doing it that way if you want. That's an option. Or you can experiment and invest in a different way. And yes, you might think we're both being self-serving by recommending this, but I can tell you, like, I've made these mistakes. So I'm telling you, like, this is the sauce. This is where you need to go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's okay to feel a little uncomfortable. I feel like when you put that skin in the game, you bet on yourself and you cultivate that self-trust, I feel like there's just this magic that happens and that will happen in your business. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on and this real talk and take on this industry that can seem so mysterious and bewildering and confusing to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed this conversation. So good. So good.
Thanks, babe. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.